You're listening to In the Lead, the podcast for real estate pros looking to grow their business. Whether you're new to the business or a seasoned pro, we come to you each week with the latest technology and online strategies to help you sell more, work less, and make a difference in your community through your real estate business. This show is brought to you by Easy Agent Pro, creators of Lead Sites, the ultimate lead generation website for agents. For show notes and links, check out easyagentpro.com/podcast.
Welcome to In the Lead, the podcast for agents looking to take their business to the next level. I'm your host, Sean Dominski, and this week's episode is sponsored by Audible. You can get your free audiobook. Just sign up at easyagentpro.com/audible. This week, I sit down with Tyler Zayat, and we talk about a couple books he's reading and the value of not only these stories, but in digging into the lives of business owners and entrepreneurs outside of your industry, and how stepping back from the current trends can help you see the bigger picture. Audio versions of these books can be found on Audible at easyagentpro.com/audible. Also, before we begin, are you an agent who's looking for better ways to build your business than chasing down cold leads? Does technology and the internet seem to be working against you? Here at Easy Agent Pro, we've created the ultimate platform for leveraging the power of the internet to grow your business. Lead Sites are complete websites with the best lead capture and first-class ongoing support. Schedule a demo today to see if Lead Sites can help grow your business. Just head over to easyagentpro.com/leadsites.
We all get really consumed in what we do, and as real estate agents or as people running businesses, we can get really negative. We can think that our business is the hardest, and we can get really depressed. There's this thing called the trough of sorrow, whether you're starting, a business or a real estate business, you can really get, depressed on yourself. One of the cool ways I found to counteract that is by reading books about people who've done things like bigger and better than what I'm doing. And so I read one this week of Elon Musk. He started SpaceX and Tesla. Tesla basically built cars from the ground up around, electric motors running them with no parts from the Detroit area. And then SpaceX basically is launching spaceships. So when you compare, everyone always comes to me, emails me, Tyler, real estate's so hard, I can't get leads. When you compare not being able to get real estate leads with building a spaceship company, like the perspective on your situation becomes remarkably different. I'm not putting anyone down because I didn't start a spaceship company, but it helps you put all those, oh man, someone said no to me, like in perspective of blowing up a $1 million, $2 million spaceship, or blowing up $1 million parts on the test launch site every single day, right? Like that's failure. Like going from Elon Musk, one of the coolest things is he started this company that merged with PayPal and sold, and he himself had about $200 million. You can fact check me and find the real number, but it's somewhere around there. And he invested all of it in these two companies. And around like middle 2000s, all that money was almost gone. He was almost bankrupt, right? So it was interesting to read this book and see sort of the mindsets that he went through and the things that he went through, because then when you look back at your own life, you maybe can laugh a little more at the problems you're facing and say, oh man, I'm not getting any leads from the last blog I wrote. But, if I keep writing for another 6 months, it's going to definitely happen. Or, oh man, someone emailed me about a month ago, I sent postcards for the last month and a half and I haven't got a response. Like, you can laugh at that because at least I didn't blow up, test parts on the launch site of SpaceX that cost like $250,000 each every day for the last year, right? You didn't do that. So, right.
It also helps you take more risks too, because you realize like, okay, should I send a postcard should I bump it up from once a month to twice a month or 3 times a month? Or should I spend a little bit more on my closing gifts or my pop-by gifts or something like that? It's going to be like, well, it's not the end of the world. Even if it doesn't return, even if that one specific dollar doesn't return an investment right directly back to you.
Something.
Yes, and it's you took that risk, and you're not quite sure where it's going to pay off. It's like when people talk about like like your ROI and this and that. It's like that doesn't mean that every dollar is being necessarily
you
you're getting
need
an
to
ROI.
fail. Yeah, you need to
Right.
like go fail, and then all of a sudden like you'll stumble on the thing that actually works for you and actually is effective. And I think a lot of people want to sit back and take like this like sniper approach where like every single shot they take is like $1 million thing. And the fact is that just doesn't, like, that's impossible, and that doesn't happen. One of my favorite stories from this book was about halfway through, like they pre-sold the first Tesla for like $90,000, and then like I think it was a month later or whatever, at the next board meeting, they realized that the prototype or whatever that they had built and they were going to ship was going to cost them $200,000 each. So like they had to like blow up like the whole plans, all the cost structures were just completely off. Like that's failure. Like you want to talk about like postcards like not working or cold calling not working. Like that's great, keep at it. But like when you look at someone else's failures, it lets you realize that what we're all doing is just, you know, we're all just trying to figure out what's what. And sometimes looking at people who've like done something that failed bigger than you makes you look at yourself and say, okay, I have the courage to keep going.
Right. And with Elon Musk's case, and this is with a lot of like space entrepreneurs as well, it's not necessarily the main goal is what is going to change the world, but there's going to be like offshoots and byproducts of that main goal that's going to, you know, that's going to bring in like the real the funds and the what ends up actually being the larger success. You know, Tesla is, we're still seeing where they go with it.
Right.
But we've seen battery technology improve. He's been able to roll over some of what he's developed in Tesla into his home battery system that he, you know, recently launched about a year or so ago. Yeah. So there's going to be other innovations and byproducts from that constant cycle of try again, and the things that do work along the way are kind of being added up into further successes. And, you know, make no mistake about it, whatever, you know, as long as Elon Musk keeps going, something's going to change in that Steve Jobs, Apple type of way. And, you know, Apple, Steve Jobs, it's almost cliche because everyone's talking about it, but they've changed so much and the world's so much different now because of it. And I think it's going to be the innovators and the entrepreneurs, regardless of the field, that's going to see that, you know, world's going to be changing, even if it's in a small way, or, you know, in a localized area. So and what was the other book that you said
so this book I also this one's a bit more real estate-y. I read The Hiltons. Fun fact, Conrad Hilton, who started the enterprise back before the Depression and everything, he actually is a New Mexico entrepreneur, which is pretty cool because Easy Agent Pro, we're based in New Mexico. He grew up, you know, all sorts around. It was actually a territory back then when he was a kid growing up there, so it's pretty interesting. But a lot of the same things, you know, he was adjust this for inflation, but he was $500,000 in debt when the Great Depression happened. Mm-hmm. And then he rode that through, and he was maybe 10% of the property owners who are that far in debt, or the real estate people who didn't actually default on those loans. And so reading like how he actually did that, how people in his company believed in him so much that, you know, like the bellman bought stock and gave him his life savings of like $1,000 to help him meet the mortgage payment that month. Because $500,000 back then is an insane amount of money right now. And to ride that through the Great Depression and then emerge and be able to buy real estate, I thought was really interesting. Sort of the same line of thinking that we were when talking about Elon Musk and Tesla. And the other thing, the thing that really I took away from this book is that he didn't start his hotel business until he was 37. Mm-hmm. And he didn't really even make it big until he was in his 50s. Mm-hmm. And just think about those ages, because we're in a generation now where people, they want the results right now.
Sure.
And in some things you can get them. Like I can go on my iPhone and download an app and I can play that game right now for free. Right. But there are other things in life and the things that are worth having that just simply don't happen right now. Like you don't just start a real estate business that's stable with a ton of clients overnight. You just don't. You don't start a hotel business with hundreds of hotels around the world overnight. Another fun little antidote from this one, he bought the the Blackstone Hotel, which is one of the famous ones in Chicago. It was when the Army was using it. The Army owned it back, I think it was during the wars or something, World Wars. And basically, he only owned the insides of it, not the actual building. But he bought that for millions and millions of dollars and sat on it for 3 years so that when the building came up for sale, he could buy the building. And I thought that was really interesting. Like, how many of us, agents that, I talk to that maybe would invest something that big, millions of dollars, in just owning the beds, cots, inside furnishings, so that when the big outside thing came for sale 3, 4, 5 years down the line, you'd be able to partake in making that a business venture, because it's not even profitable when you buy it 3 years. Then you got another year, 2, 3 of refurbishing it before you can actually turn it into a hotel. And I think that's another key thing to realize in your business, is that these people have long-term vision plan. And so, what's your long-term goal you're working towards? Are you writing a blog a week so that a year from now you have a website with tons of traffic that you glean leads off of? Or are you canvassing a neighborhood with postcards for the next 3 years so that the 10 years after that, you're that agent? Everyone that I talk to is thinking, what can I do today to make $2 tomorrow? What can you do today, to make $1, or your months just happen year after year, starting 5 years from now, not profiting anything during those first 5 years? That's the interesting thought to me.
Right. And that's also, building that referral base, building that customer base. How are you treating, good customer service? It's almost like there's a mindset.
Really, if you want customer service, read the book. He's great at that. Yeah.
Right. Well, and I think a lot of agents, they kind of get trapped into this whole churn and burn type of mentality as well, where it's we get more leads and that's great, but if you're not servicing the relationships that you already have, and when I think of some of these real estate trainers, you can build an entire business off of the relationships you have, as long as you're able to constantly nurture and inform that relationship and get those referrals. It's something that's built over time. It's not necessarily something that, like you said, how to make $2 tomorrow. But you're also you're not just getting leads to make some money. You are getting leads so you can be building a business and adding to your business over time. And the more money that comes in, the more your customer base grows. You have to still nurture that and still service that, so that can pay off for you over time when you hit that tipping point. And you see it a lot, because there's a lot of the agents that you talk to who've been in the business where everything's very comfortable and everything's going really well. It's because they've been in the business for 20 years, and those first 10 years or so wasn't great. It wasn't comfortable. Usually they can talk about 1 or 2 downturns or recessions or something that they had to kind of get through. But then they came out better on the other side. And I think that kind of investment, that kind of mentality is what gets you through the ups and the downs, and has you coming out better on the other side as well.
Yeah, because you get the battle wounds from that. You learn from the scars and the people that you really messed up the relationship with, and that's how you learn, is by doing, not by reading helps, but then you gotta go execute, and then you get the battle scars, and then you learn, and then as long as you remember that and put it into practice, you can really do some damage with that knowledge.
Yeah. So I would say, the big takeaway here is just getting outside of the real estate gurus for a moment and seeing what are other industries doing.
Right. What
does entrepreneurship look like, and what does it take in all these other industries? And yes, watching Shark Tank occasionally will help you with that as well. I think there's a lot to be gleaned from that, but I think there's also you're hearing from 4 or 5 people for 42 minutes each week. Right. That's not the same as really digging into someone's story and really seeing
plus they Hollywoodize it, right? They just glamorize that entire show, right? When you actually pry back and look at the nitty-gritty, the dirt, the individual daily happenings of what it really takes to start a hotel chain or a space company, it's a lot different than this persona or the good story that you watch on the nightly news or read online, right? So what you're going to see when you pry back that, that success story is all the failures that led to that success. And that's where it's really interesting, to me at least, is like looking at how the failures are actually more indicative of the success than the success is helpful for the success.
Thanks for listening to In the Lead. If you've enjoyed the show, be sure to subscribe in iTunes or Stitcher and leave us an honest review. For more great content like this, check out our blog at EasyAgentPro.com.